Now I want to show you a really incredible technique in the end game, how it's possible to exploit on one flank the advantage of the knight over the bishop when the pawns are doubled. It's the game Mikhalchishin from Soviet zonal tournament 1978. So, what to do now? Black has to create some weakness, clearly. There are two options, king e6 or king g6. King g6 is more precise move, I think. King g3, f5. So, what's threatening now? Is f4 a threat or not a threat? Of course, it's a question. Probably, my opinion is, it was maybe better to allow f4. Okay, black would have in this case very unpleasant plan, maybe trying to play f4 and then transposing knight to h4. Then pawn f3 would be in big danger. So Gulko decided to take on f5. Of course, in defense is the rule of defense. The main rule of defense is that it's important always to reduce quantity of pawns during defense, even defending position with a pawn down. But if there are equal pawns, of course, this rule is universal, so we cannot blame Gulko for move ef5. Bishop e3, knight e1, bishop d2. Now improvement of the knight. So bishop e1, knight d4, bishop e3, knight check, and now h5. So black wants to fix h4 maybe, then to play knight f4 check, and pawn and game can be lost, you see. It's a very interesting moment here. h4 was real serious threat, so I decided to put h4. But once more, is better not to break Capablanca rule, or if black plays g5 h4, of course black applied either Capablanca rules, different rules, but it's better to allow opponent to conduct himself Capablanca rule, or to play against Capablanca rule, to pawn h4. So I think maybe first option would be better than second, which was played by Gulko. King e6, now black tries to improve the position of the king. Now knight is packed on f5, but white is protecting. Black is maneuvering, trying to find a way to come through. White is waiting, knight d4. So here, of course, threat is knight f5 check. Black plays bishop d8, knight f5 check, king comes to h3, and then king d4. Trying to come forward, king d3, king d2. White attacks, of course, as usually. Such policy is always the best. If opponent wants to attack some our pawns, it's necessary always to stick to his pawns. Okay, in slightly worse position. This method is called sticking. But okay, e4. Pawn takes king e4. And suddenly what we see? You see that one more pawn is exchanged, and black king is coming forward and forward. Black king is coming to f3. This king f3, bishop c5. Still is not clear how to win. g6 just now improving the pawn, with the idea not to forget about it. And now knight starts to come to attack e4 pawn. Now king g4. Anyhow, black would place knight on f4 and driving out white king. Black target is not pawn f2. Black target is pawn h4, which allow to create passed pawn on h file, and which allow to win. So bishop here, knight f3, knight h4 check, h2, knight f3 here, and h4. You see, everything goes very smooth. Bishop c7, h3, king f1, g5, bishop d8, king f5, bishop c7, g4. Improvement of the position. What is the black plan? How to win? Bishop here, king comes here, bishop c7, and now, you see, now what is the plan? Plan is to put king on f3, knight on e2, and then to play g3. Bishop c7, knight e2. Now threat is suddenly g3, and if pawn takes, then h2, to promote pawn. So only move was bishop h2, here was played, and now knight c3. Bishop comes back, knight comes to e4. If now bishop comes to a7, white is lost after h2. And it would be the same if king would be on g1 now, black would win with knight takes f2, bishop f2, and h2 check. So you see, fantastic technique of Oleg Romanishin, which showed real power of the knight, But the main reason of white problems was very simple, the double pawns. So you have to know that when you try to exploit advantage of knight of the bishop, or to prepare even it with some exchanges, you have to know when there are symmetrical position, power of knight is increasing, but power of knight is increased much more when you can create in the opponent's position double pawns. In such cases, knight is terribly strong. And for some strange reason, this is not written in most of the books, because top players, they know this element and they know how to exploit these possibilities. When the knight plays against double pawns, it was known for top players since Nimzovich, since 1920s.